Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have a bunch of updates to share about Donald Trump's trial, also a few related details. So the trial was a little bit boring, especially first thing in the day. The prosecutor did end up scoring a couple of wins, though, in my opinion. Madeline Westerhout was back on the stand first thing this morning, and she really contradicted herself. There were things that she said specifically, like, that Trump was very detail oriented, that he always paid very close attention to everything he was signing. And when he was signing checks, he was always very aware of what was going on. Then all of a sudden, this morning, she's answering questions for the defense, and she completely contradicted all of that and said, oh, yeah, sometimes he was really distracted. Sometimes he was on the phone signing checks. And obviously, she's not real trustworthy. Again, she was Trump's personal assistant in the White House. She used to work also for the Republican National Committee. But you might recall me mentioning yesterday that the defense had elicited testimony from her saying that Trump wasn't worried or he wasn't freaking out about the Access Hollywood video like other people in the party were doing. So that statement obviously was a gift to the defense because the prosecutor has to try to prove that Trump was desperate to keep the Stormy Daniels story buried after the Access Hollywood thing in the wake of that hitting the news. Well, when the prosecutor did their redirect today with Westerhout, they got her to admit she wasn't even around Trump when the Access Hollywood video came to light. She had said she didn't work for him then. Westerhout conceded she actually didn't spend much time with Trump until after the election, until after he became president. So just like I said yesterday, how the hell would she know? How the hell would she know whether or not Trump was freaked out about it? And again, even if he was, is he going to confide in someone like her that he doesn't know? So completely bogus. The defense kind of screwed up too. At the end of their cross-examination with her, some of the final questions that they posed to Westerhout were, number one, was Trump upset when the Stormy Daniels story came out? And then they asked her, okay, why was he upset? So Westerhout said, oh yeah, Trump was upset because he was worried about how the story would affect his family. Well, then Trump's attorney made the major error, in my opinion, of asking her if Trump told her he was worried about it hurting his family. And she actually had to admit that, no, that's not actually what he said. So she was assuming. She assumes why he was upset, right? Yeah. And so that's where they ended their cross-examination. Now, unfortunately, from what I've heard, because I'm keeping an eye on the live broadcasts and all of the people coming out from the courthouse who are actually there, witnessing all of this, hearing all of this. I'm watching that in real time. From what I can gather, the prosecutor didn't seize on that when they did their redirect. Maybe they did, maybe nobody mentioned it, but it could also be they thought, oh, it's bad enough. We're just going to let it stand and let the jury see that, yeah, she answered their question truthfully, and she actually didn't hear him say that. Anyway, the rest of the witnesses were phone company representatives, also employees of the district attorney's office. The phone reps were there to authenticate phone records and text records to try to prove that none of this stuff had been altered, this was all fake, or that it wasn't fake, that it was all legitimate. So this, of course, has to do with the calls and text messages that have been introduced in the trial, things that are going to be introduced, and they have to, try to prove the case that, yeah, Trump was very involved in the campaign contributions, in the illegal campaign contributions. So the DA's employees were a little bit more interesting than the phone reps because the prosecutor was able to show in various text messages and social media posts, they were able to show those to the jury and they were pretty damning. But they were able to, for example, show a tweet written by Trump in April of 2018 in which he was praising Michael Cohen. And then, he claimed, oh, Liberals are going after Cohen for no reason. He's a good man. They're trying to force him to flip on me. Well, in another post, just 4 months later, and after Cohen agreed to a plea deal, Trump completely turned on him. And again, 4 months later, August of that same year, and he says, oh, he's a terrible attorney. I wouldn't recommend anybody hire him. But one of the most damning social media posts was where Trump admitted that Cohen was paid a retainer for legal services, and he claimed that there was nothing illegal about that. Nothing illegal about these payments. So it establishes he absolutely knew about this deal. It's there in black and white. And they've already confirmed with several of the witnesses that Trump wrote almost all of his own posts. He was his own cheerleader. He was the one who was out there posting stuff, not his staff. So they can't say, oh, well, Trump didn't write that. Somebody else wrote that. Well, somebody knew. Even if somebody else did write it, somebody else knew about that retainer agreement, right? Somebody close enough to Trump that they have access to his Twitter account and they're posting on his behalf. Where'd they get that from? So anyway, the jury also got to see other texts that corroborate Stormy Daniels' story, Michael Cohen's version of events. There were text messages to and from Daniels' manager and the editor, or then editor at least, of the National Enquirer. And they were discussing the payoff to Daniels. And one of them posited that they believed that they had had an affair. So, yeah, a couple of interesting tidbits for a, otherwise sleepy, boring day. But court ended early today. So that was pretty much everything that happened. They stopped at 1 p.m. Eastern time. They're going to pick back up on Monday, and the prosecutor announced Michael Cohen will begin his testimony on Monday. I also wanted to share what Trump's niece had to say about her uncle calling Stormy Daniels honey bunch. So I had mentioned this the other day when Daniels testified. She said that after they had sex, Trump told her, oh, that was great. We'll have to get together again, honey bunch. So gross. I mean, like vomit in your mouth, kind of gross. Anyway, his niece, Mary Trump, has confirmed that was the well-known family's term of endearment for each other. That was the term of endearment that his family used all the time for each other. So she said that part in particular of Stormy Daniels' testimony absolutely solidified for her that, yeah, she's telling the truth. Because, yeah, it's not a common phrase, right? Most people say sweetie or honey or whatever, but honey bunch, right? It's not as commonly used. I also have some trial-related news. So, you know how Trump was so angry? He was so forlorn. He was so disappointed. He wasn't going to be able to go to Barron's graduation, right? Can't even be there for my son. So the judge actually hadn't ruled on it yet. He and everybody, all of his sheep, all of his, MAGA cult on the right, were all up in arms. Oh my God, oh, the judge is just a monster. He can't go to his son's graduation. Like freaking out about it for weeks. Well, the judge actually hadn't ruled on it yet, but he did just recently. And he said, okay, yeah, I will grant you your request. I will halt the trial for that one day, which is next Friday, May 17th. We will not have trial, and you can go to your son's graduation. Yeah, well, it is now being reported that Trump is the headline speaker at an event in Minnesota on that same day. So he was so upset about not being there for his son in Florida, but apparently he is totally okay with ditching his son's graduation celebration to go speak at an event at 5 p.m. in Minnesota. I mean, I guess all that matters, though, is that MAGA bought it, right? They are so easy to fool. He can still fool his sheep. Anyway, in polling news, 65.1% of registered voters of all stripes say they expect the jury to convict Trump on all or at least some of the counts. Only 23.1% of the people who responded to this poll say no, he'll be acquitted on all charges. And then another 10.3% said, I don't know. So a lot of people thinking that it's going to go down bad for him. I am still in the I don't know camp because, you got the one MAGA guy on the jury, and that's all it takes is one for a hung jury. You still got the guy who gets his news from Truth Social. So there you go. Hopefully he's an honest person, but we don't know, right? And some, I assume, are good people. All right. I will let you all know when I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.